Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to ditch the usual holiday list?
Sounds good to me.
Perfect, because today we're diving deep into religious feast days. But we're going way beyond just, marking the calendar.
Right, not just dates and parties.
Exactly. We're after the deeper meaning baked into these celebrations, all thanks to this text on the individual feasts of the year.
Yeah, it's not your typical day planner. Even the language is almost poetic at times.
I see that.
It's like the author really wants to pull you in, help you connect with faith on a more personal level.
Okay, so let's get into it. Right off the bat, you've got those big hitters. Birth of Christ, Octave of the Lord, Epiphany, Presentation.
Big start.
Talk about a power-packed beginning. But it's the language that grabs me. Cleansing, offering, presenting. It's beautifully written. What do you make of these words, especially given the text's focus on personal reflection?
That's the heart of it, isn't it? It's hinting that these events, they're more than just historical facts. They're like a guide, a roadmap for our own journey of faith.
So it's not just about his birth, but about our own metaphorical births into a deeper faith.
Exactly.
I like that.
And the text doesn't stop there. Take that idea of cleansing, for instance. We're not just talking about baptism, right? This is about clearing out the clutter in our lives.
Oh, I see.
Those doubts, those distractions, whatever's in the way of something new.
Now, that is relatable. Speaking of clearing the way, we then shift into Septuagesima and Lent, which, for me at least, have always had that feeling of gearing up, like the anticipation before a big trip.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, like packing your bags. And what I find fascinating is this idea of Septuagesima as preparation. It's about anticipating Lent, not just the fasting itself.
Absolutely. The preparation is key. It's about turning inward, taking stock of where we're at, almost like we're creating this sacred space within ourselves.
Instead of packing suitcases, it's like we're doing some mental and spiritual decluttering.
Precisely. And yes, the text talks about fasting, but it's not just about giving up food. It's about quieting those inner voices, the ones that pull us away from really connecting with our faith.
So we've decluttered, we're feeling prepped and ready, and bam, Palm Sunday. But then things take a turn with the Passion. It's a complete shift in mood. How does the text reconcile that contrast, going from celebration to suffering?
Well, I think that contrast is really important. It highlights this duality within faith itself, experiencing both highs and lows.
Makes sense.
But notice how the text emphasizes Jesus's example, humility in the face of all that praise on Palm Sunday, and then unwavering faith even in the midst of agony during the Passion.
It's about finding that inner strength, drawing on faith to face whatever comes your way.
Exactly. And of course, we can't forget about the resurrection. It's presented not just as a historical event, but as this incredible promise, a promise of liberation from sin and death.
The ultimate victory.
Exactly. This victory over the things that hold us back spiritually.
Which, if I'm not mistaken, ties in beautifully with that earlier idea of cleansing. We're not just remembering something that happened long ago.
Right.
We're tapping into a power that can transform us today.
Precisely. It's a common thread running through all of these celebrations.
Okay, so then things get a little abstract as we move into Ascension and Pentecost.
Yeah.
And I gotta be honest, this is where I need a little help wrapping my head around things.
Yeah.
What does it actually mean when we talk about Jesus ascending?
Okay.
And how does this whole image of the Holy Spirit descending in fire translate to, everyday life?
Okay, so think of it this way. Ascension, that marks a kind of shift. It's about moving from a physical, tangible experience of faith to something more internal, something deeper and more personal. It points us toward heaven as our ultimate destination.
Yeah.
Pentecost, on the other hand, that's about the here and now. It's that spark of inspiration, that fire in your heart that drives you to live out your faith.
So we go from looking upward to looking inward, recognizing that inner fire. There's definitely a pattern emerging here. But before we get to that, let's talk about the feast days of saints.
Sure.
Because in this text, we encounter quite a lineup. We've got John the Baptist, Boniface, apostles, confessors, martyrs, virgins. Heck, even the author jumps in with a request for prayers at one point. It's like a Saints Hall of Fame, each one representing a different skill set for, living a good life.
Right.
What's the common thread here? Why are these individual feast days so important?
It's interesting. Each saint embodies something specific, a virtue, a lesson, you name it.
Okay.
And they give us all these different models for living out our faith, showing us, hey, here's how to handle life's ups and downs without compromising what you believe.
So it's less about like putting saints on a pedestal
Right.
and more about seeing them as guides, each one embodying a different aspect of what it means to live a life of faith.
Exactly. And their feast days, they become these opportunities to really think about those qualities.
Okay.
Like we might ask ourselves, what speaks to me about St. Agnes's courage, or St. Francis's humility?
It's like we're personalizing these stories,
Yes.
finding the parts that resonate with our own experiences and hopes and all that.
Precisely. And don't forget, the author even asks for prayers. That connection matters too.
Oh, right, yeah.
Reaching out to the saints, asking for their help. It's another way to tap into something bigger than ourselves. It's like having someone in your corner, supporting you on your journey.
It's actually kind of comforting when you think about it that way, having this direct line to a spiritual mentor, someone who's walked the path before you.
It is, isn't it? And that actually touches on something crucial about this text's whole approach to faith. It's about actively engaging. We're not just going through the motions. We're digging deeper, connecting with these figures, and then asking ourselves, how can I apply this wisdom to my own life?
It strikes me that there's this recurring idea of mirroring, wouldn't you say? Like we're looking at Jesus's life, the saints' lives,
Right.
and using those reflections to guide our own actions, trying to find echoes of their experiences in our own lives.
That's a really insightful observation. Like the text is saying, okay, here's the blueprint. Now go out and build your masterpiece. Let these stories inspire you.
And we're given all these tools to help along the way: fasting, prayer, reflection.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a pretty comprehensive approach to, nurturing your spiritual growth.
Yeah.
This has been so insightful. I feel like I'm seeing these feast days in a whole new light, not just as celebrations, but as opportunities to grow.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up our deep dive here,
Yeah.
what's the key takeaway for someone who wants to, engage with these feasts on a deeper level, go beyond just, circling a date on the calendar?
I think the beauty of this text is how it encourages us to approach these feast days, not as passive observances, but as opportunities to really connect with our faith. We can't just acknowledge the date and move on. It's
Yeah.
about finding that personal meaning within each celebration.
Asking yourself, what does this mean for me?
Exactly. What resonates most deeply with you in these descriptions is the call to cleanse and start fresh, the example of humility, of unwavering faith, the promise of liberation, the fire of inspiration, or maybe it's the comfort of knowing there's a whole crowd of saints cheering you on.
It's about finding those points of connection, those things that really spark something within you.
Yes.
And figuring out how to carry that energy forward.
Precisely. Because at the end of the day, that's where the true meaning of these feasts lies. Not just in the historical event itself, but in how it inspires us to live differently, more fully, more presently, more faithfully.
It reminds us that these stories, these figures from the past,
Yeah.
they're not just relics, They can guide us as we navigate our own complex lives.
Absolutely.
Help us face challenges, build a stronger connection with our faith.
And who knows, maybe next year when we revisit this,
Yeah.
we'll find even deeper meaning. That's the amazing thing about this kind of exploration. It's a lifelong journey.
Love that. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. And remember, keep exploring those questions. And maybe keep those metaphorical suitcases handy
Aha!
for all that spiritual decluttering. Until next time, asking yourself, what does this mean for me? Instead of just going through the motions.
Exactly. What resonates most deeply with you in these descriptions? Is it that call to cleanse and start fresh? The example of humility? That unwavering faith? Maybe it's the promise of liberation. That fire, that inspiration? Or maybe it's just, the comfort of knowing you've got this whole crowd of saints in your corner.
It's about zeroing in on those points of connection, those things that really spark something within you.
Yes.
And then figuring out how to carry that energy forward.
Precisely. Because when it comes down to it, that's what these feasts are all about. Not just the historical event itself, but how it motivates us, inspires us to live well.
Wow.
Differently, more fully, more presently, more faithfully.
It's like a reminder that these stories, these figures from history,
Yeah.
they're not just relics of the past.
Absolutely not.
They can teach us, guide us as we navigate our own lives, our own challenges. They can help us build a stronger connection to our faith.
And who knows, maybe next year when we revisit all of this,
Yeah.
maybe we'll uncover even deeper meaning. That's what I love about this kind of exploration. It's a journey, a lifelong journey.
I love that. Well, on that note, a huge thanks to everyone for joining us on this deep dive. And remember, Keep those questions coming, keep exploring, and hey, maybe keep those metaphorical suitcases handy.
Huh?
You never know when you'll need to do a little spiritual decluttering. Until next time, everyone.